I'm honored to be invited by EC Council to speak to each of you today. Thank you to EC Council for allowing me to present this important cybersecurity information. I am Marylyn Harris, a cybersecurity consultant specializing in healthcare information, security, and privacy. I am a master's prepared registered nurse, and I served in the Army. I am a war veteran of the Gulf War, a writer, and a social entrepreneur. I live in the United States in Texas. This graphic kind of sums up my life and transition into cybersecurity. Since cybersecurity found me a few years ago, I've immersed myself in studying and learning the cybersecurity landscape, ecosystem, and attending key industry events. You will see those events on the left. Earlier this year, I attended the RSA 2020 Security Conference in San Francisco, California, before we became quarantined to our homes from COVID-19. I am currently completing training to sit for an industry certification exam, the HCISPP, Healthcare Information Security and Privacy Practitioner. I plan to sit for this exam at the end of June. In August, I plan to enter a doctoral program in Cybersecurity Management. I'm excited. 10 years ago, I started a nonprofit organization to assist women veterans like myself to start and grow businesses. Today, we host a free monthly Women Veterans Tech Career and Tech Bootcamp initiative in partnership with Microsoft. And our mission is to introduce women veterans to tech careers and to tech business opportunities to create a global pipeline of tech-savvy women veterans. So I plan to continue working with small and medium-sized businesses and to train them to develop effective, efficient cybersecurity policies and practices so that they will grow successful enterprises. And that personal goal and mission of mine feeds right into our topic today. Today's topic is home-based working, a security challenge for enterprises. And this is the agenda. I've just welcomed everyone, told you the topic. During this presentation, I will briefly describe select enterprise vulnerabilities related to home-based working. Next, we'll talk about the benefits of security awareness training. And after that, we'll discuss security measures when updating security policies, bring your own devices, and shadow IT. And finally, we'll conclude by discussing some of the tools and resources that enterprises can use to mitigate risk and create security. Wow. The COVID-19 pandemic, it seems like it's been forever since this has changed our lives. On May 4th, 2020, the CNBC news outlet reported that the COVID-19 pandemic has led to more employees working from home. These are the stats, according to CNBC. Before the COVID-19 crisis, 4.9% of the US workforce worked from home full-time. And according to the last US Census American Community Survey, by the end of April 2020, in the United States, 63% of US employees said they were now working from home because of COVID-19 concerns. The 2020 World Economic Forum survey also reports that of these home-based workers, 98% of them say that they want the option to work remotely for the rest of their careers. And the same study revealed that However, both employers and employees have concerns about remote work. And that's exactly what we're going to discuss, the concerns of enterprises and employees about working remote. Our topic again, home-based working, a security challenge for enterprises. This photo looks typical of many offices pre-COVID-19. How many of you, like me, feel like things rapidly change? Like in the blink of an eye, you went from an office type setting, an environment like this, to a home working environment, working out of your home in just a blink. Incidentally, in a recent Glassdoor poll, 27% of home-based workers complain about feeling lonely, isolated, and disconnected from the team since they've been working at home, and report that they miss things like the morning chit chats, having coffee with coworkers. Some enterprises, according to my research, have even began creating in-house check-in programs so that every employee is contacted daily so nobody feels isolated. Interestingly also, in the same study, 35% of workers say that they don't miss being in the office at all. So how's that for diversity? Do any of these employees look familiar to you? There's Jane. Her technology isn't working well while she works at home. John, he's resistant to change. He doesn't like this work at home situation. And then there's Joe. He has experienced privacy issues and I imagine security issues. A 2020 remote workplace study found that the vulnerabilities that employers face with home-based workers are many. And you may be surprised at the most common ones. The most common vulnerabilities that enterprises face are resistance to change. Companies are resistant to changing their long-standing, non-flexible work culture about possibly even working at home. But COVID-19 changed everything. The most common, again, is resistance to change by enterprises. Next is privacy issues. At home, especially when employees around the world were rapidly sent back to their homes to work, privacy was a big issue. It still is a big issue with other people living in the home. All of these issues actually are very relevant that you see on the left-hand side. The third obstacle to implementing a flexible workplace policy and being resistant to change by enterprises is their actual lack of understanding about the benefits of flexible working. I thought that was very interesting. Many companies claim that they wanted to preserve company culture and they could not do that with a workforce that was not in the office. And then of course, there's the technology challenges with the hardware, with the laptops, with the VPNs, challenges with the software, challenges with connection. Isn't it interesting? Take a look at the last item, data security. Isn't it interesting that data security is not at the top of the list? And this is exactly why, as cybersecurity professionals, we must work across disciplines with all types of team members to just educate them on how important cyber safety is and how important protecting data security is. This is another group of employees. This group's enterprise vulnerability issue is a little different. This group, it represents a group of people just like Jay. He gets a lot of phishing emails and feels vulnerable sometimes to them. Yule, she has a problem making not safe and secure passwords. Remember, a password has some characteristics that Yule, in this case, does not deploy to make it safe. And so that's why she was tagged by the IT team as someone that could benefit from additional security awareness training. And Akil, he has been exploited by social engineering. And so home-based workers often lack security awareness training prior to beginning remote work. Each of these employees has been identified to have this special learning need. They are unfamiliar with the benefits and pitfalls of working from home. And the good news is that security awareness training can be performed in many forms, in many ways, by many types of people. It can be performed in-house by enterprises' own employees or staff. It can be performed virtually, and it can be performed affordably. Many, many training choices exist in the market. So remember to encourage your colleagues to stay connected with each other so that you're constantly communicating and knowing when another colleague has a problem with their remote work situation. Securing passwords, making them at least 15 characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters. Using a VPN if that's your company's security policy. Definitely using encryption. Using two-factor authentication, not downloading anything that's unauthorized by your organization's security policy. And if you don't know it, please ask. And using anti-malware software. Security awareness training reportedly has a critical role in minimizing the serious security threats posted to end users, like the employees we just discussed. Phishing attacks, social engineering, the human error is what oftentimes causes enterprises throughout the world to exist no longer, just from clicking on one email that inserts malware and infects the whole company system. I mentioned this briefly before, but key training topics for security awareness training include password management, privacy, email phishing security, web and internet security, as well as physical and office network security. And it can be delivered, like you see on this slide, via laptop, via tablet, or you can even watch the training on your phone and put your headphones in. One final group of employees, these are managers. And Terry, Gina, and Don, they have a big job, a big, big job. They are tasked with anticipating the organization's employees' needs and the organization's needs to stay physically cyber safe and secure. And they're also tasked with implementing the security measures, the policies, and much more for all aspects of the enterprise. Now, traditionally, as you know, these employees have special education, training, and usually IT certifications that tell you what their expertise is. Terry is working with the bring your own devices policies and the shadow IT policy to make sure that no employees bring devices in that are infected with malware and infect the system. Gina is an expert in access control and permissions. And Don is our security and privacy lead in this case. A few of the items that these professionals may have in their toolbox are I'm not reading these in the exact order, but I will read them all. The first one is the International Information Security Management Standard, ISO 27001. This is something that should be in everyone's toolkit and very, very close. Below the ISO insignia is the NIST, National Institutes for Standard and Technology, Special Publication 800-46, Revision 2, the Guide to Enterprise Telework, Remote Access, and Bring Your Own Device Security. Also, I mentioned the security, the employee check-in programs, and something that you may not hear talked about on a cybersecurity conference, but it's very relevant, and I'm qualified to discuss it because I'm a nurse, is sometimes referrals to an employee assistance program, a medical and a mental health provider are necessary for some employees because of the stressful nature of COVID-19. Here are some additional tools and resources. The Centers for Disease Control, they put out guidelines for businesses. Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, specifically their Center for Health Security, is an invaluable resource for all employees to check on a regular basis to understand more intensely what is going on with this COVID-19 pandemic. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security, CISA, the World Economic Forum. We need to look at economic data. And then the public-private partnership. Many of you may already be engaged with the InfoGuard chapters around the country. You can also use as your tools your professional organizations. And then, of course, there's always clergy if you are a person that chooses to use that resource. We have only discussed a small fraction of the tools and resources available to reduce enterprise vulnerability, but it is my desire to have shared some resources with you that you didn't know and revisited some that you do know so that not only you can use them and have a more seamless process from during your time of working at home, but you can share it with your colleagues at work as well. Thank you.